Hello and welcome to another episode of the Cliff Notes podcast, where we ask a leader and find a way. Today I'm joined by Dale Parmenter from DRP Group. How are you doing today, Dale?
I'm great, thanks.
I've just been sort of reading up on the news, and your group's been put forward for another set of awards for the Field Marketing and Brand Experience Awards. So doing well again this year.
Yeah, we've done really well with our awards across all the different sectors we serve. So hopefully another record year for our industry awards.
And what I found it interesting was definitely seems you're more than coming from a comms background. You're not just a team of writers or sort of publicists. There's very much an immersive or a well-rounded picture to this company.
Yeah, we're quite an unusual business. We're quite unique in a way. We are that sort of creative comms agency with the writers and, say, the strategists and the visionaries, but we're also the production company as well. So we have all that internal resource, whether it's delivering through video, through digital, through live events, print. So we have everything in-house. So we are quite unusual to be able to offer a true multi-channel service.
I mean, what's brought you to this field? Something that you've been in for a while?
Yeah, probably too long, and some may say. So I started way back in the late 70s. My passion was film, and I was making films on real film, not video. And I got this idea that I could make corporate films for businesses, because then making a corporate film was so expensive, probably more expensive than it is today. So I thought that we can do something here where we can really offer this to a wider corporate base. Film was clearly not going to work; it's too expensive. But video was up and coming, and things like Betacam was coming out from Sony, and it was becoming much more portable, much more cost effective. So invested in this new kit, which I suppose is the equivalent of digital today. It was all very exciting. And just went out and spoke to local organisations originally, and it started to capture the imagination. So I was a cameraman and then became a director and editor, and it all drove through video originally. And the other channels started to build as we started to grow. And we were making films for events, whether exhibitions or conferences. And one day, one sales director said to me, "Why can't you produce a conference? You're making the films for us." Okay, we'll give it a go. And that sort of started me thinking of, could we control the whole supply chain right from that initial idea? What is the message you want to communicate, and then find the right channel to communicate that with. And over the years, nearly 40 years, we've built up that into now a complete 100% full service agency across multiple channels.
The focus is around the sort of the internal or external comms, but sometimes that might be a broader campaign than just sort of working with a company more longer term.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But everything, I'm passionate about comms, and everything starts from comms. So that's really important to me.
The thing from the conversation we had before is there's an overlap in some of the companies you work with. You work in the sort of industrial or manufacturing space often. Is that a core market for you?
We serve many different markets. So a lot in manufacturing, automotive, also construction, but also retail, telecommunications. So we're very, very broad. Many of our competitors specialize in one sector. We don't do that. We specialize across all the sectors, and that's important to us. Get that diversity of different ways of working, and different sectors do work in slightly different ways, and they've got different challenges.
So, in order to accomplish this, is this way you've sort of branched out, and you've got more than one site over the last few years?
Yes, absolutely. We felt that we can run from one site, but it's actually better to be closer to some of our clients. So we've got now 7 sites, and this year we've opened in the USA, in Germany, and in Ireland as well, because we see great opportunities overseas to offer what the UK receives, and the UK is a very developed market, particularly in the comms sector, and we're quite advanced compared to the rest of the world.
That's interesting. So, more of your work does stretch through multiple countries or different divisions that are working around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. That's we've always worked overseas, but we've tended to work for UK businesses in different territories. So this year is the first year now we're actually starting to work for overseas companies that are based in that country, and bringing some of that techniques we use, the creativity that we use from the UK into those regions, and always our industry has been seen as a centre of excellence in the UK. So it's taking that and replicating it across the globe.
I mean, is this just been a sort of natural evolution, or is there certain sort of digital technologies, or as things sort of move forward, that sort of facilitated this, or just made it more practical?
Yeah, absolutely. Technology is very much driven a lot of what we can do now, because particularly with digital production and digital communication, you don't need a base in effect. You can do this from anywhere across the globe instantly, which has really opened up ways, particularly internally, where companies want to communicate with their remote sites, whether that's a manufacturing site, whether it's a retail site. We can really now, in real time, push out across the globe the same message consistently and at high quality. Whereas even 5 years ago, it was more difficult, and 10 years ago, very difficult, and 20 years ago, almost impossible.
How do you do that, or to make that a better process?
Yeah. So take a town hall meeting for a global organisation, and we've done many of these. So you want to get your team together. You want to run maybe a 3-4 hour town hall meeting. Now, traditionally, you would either have to travel around and go to all those sites and hire a venue, or it would be done on video, or it would be done on a satellite, and incredibly expensive. Now we're running an example of one we ran recently: 4,000 people on site, employees online. We ran 60 sites, and 20 of those sites were two-way as well. So even down to the one person sat in Hong Kong in their apartment can log on and have a 2 hour experience. And we can do digital team building, we can have Q&As, we can have feedback, we can have presentations coming in from across the globe. We did another one for a food company where they wanted to do a tasting of new products, and those products were sent out, and we could do that tasting, have a bit of fun, sort of scoring them online. It's opened up so much more possibilities now that we can become much more interesting and much more engaging, and it's a lot further on than it's ever been.
Sponsorship of this podcast has been brought to you by Holding Bay, the digital web agency. Holding Bay specialises in working with B2B companies like manufacturers to build better solutions and drive better sales funnels. So if you would like to build a web application or improve your branding and sales funnel, get in contact today. holdingbay.co.uk or call us on 01273 044 019. If I'm, say, an established business, but I'm new to the idea of sort of outsourcing comms or having someone else work with me, I mean, where would you start with something like this? Is this something that would have started way before the town hall, or it's something that you could just come in and work just on these sort of events?
Yeah, I mean, it's first of all, we sit down with the client and say, what are you trying to achieve? And sometimes there's an issue in the business around poor communication, and even going back into the 80s when I first started, and one of my first clients saw the power of video. This guy was the MD, quite a big company, 3,000 employees, and said, I can communicate now with my remote sites using video. Yes, we had to drag this enormous projection system around, and it was all done on tape, so there was no digital. And it was brilliant. And every month he would communicate with his people in things like new products, threats, recognition, etc., and made a difference. Interestingly, after 2 years, he retired and a new MD came in, and decided to cancel it. Couldn't see the point of why he should spend this money on communicating with his people. And his view was, I talk to my people, I tell them what to do, I don't need to communicate with them and get their feedback. That business had its first strike in 100 years. And interestingly, I think that was the first nail in that coffin for that business, because that business now employs 25 people and it's a niche operator. So it's gone from world leader to just a niche little business tucked away. And you think, is that because of that lack of comms across that business?
People like to talk about in the sales side and the business side is it's a personal business. It's shaking hands. It's people want to talk to people, not be faceless.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I get frustrated when, and I did a speech at a presentation at a comms, and somebody said, well, our idea of communicating with our people, we just send them an email every week. I thought, well, how many people actually open it or read it, and where is the personalization? Where's the passion? Where's the face-to-face that I can look the CEO or the sales director in the eye and say, oh yeah, I get what they're saying here. Email is a dreadful way of communicating from a comms, if you want to excite people across the business. And what the new technologies are allowing us to do is have that face-to-face without actually having to visit the country or the location. It's the next best thing, and it's really exciting. Now we can start to get interaction back and get feedback from employees on the shop floor of what they feel, how they're doing, any ideas they've got, and it's really, really exciting that we can now offer such a broader array of tools for senior management teams to communicate with their people, and the people to communicate back with the senior team.
Yeah, I can see that getting more of that two-way communication and less just broadcast, so that people are more included.
Yeah, absolutely, and without the need for massive costs, because it's always cost will come in that we can't afford to do this, we can't afford the time out of the office, we can't afford to take people out of their sites to a venue, we just want to talk to them for 1 hour. So I'm not saying we shouldn't do face-to-face at all. Face-to-face in the room, and I was there at that venue, is brilliant. But there are times where you just need to do a check-in for an hour, and you can do that with thousands of people all at once, and it's incredible.
So coming back to the sort of the cost, or you said that the owner didn't value it so much. Is there a way that you can communicate or track the value of this work?
Well, the beauty, of course, of using a lot of the new technologies is the analytics that sit behind it show us who is watching, what they watched. We can also have trigger points within there if to show whether they're engaging with something. So we did for a car manufacturer. We wanted to communicate new products and new promotions just last week across their whole dealership network. And traditionally, they'd get all the dealers to travel to a central point, do the presentations, and then all travel back. We were able to do this at 8 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock. We did it in a sort of Top Gear-esque studio base. We used one of our studios here. The senior team were able to communicate, make it fun. We were including video clips and in interviews. Questions were coming in from across the UK. And of course, what we were watching is who is watching, what are they watching, and how long are they staying online for. And then through post evaluation, we can start to set how effective this has all been.
No, that makes sense. We certainly like to work with analytics and reporting and get that back into that sort of real-time feel that people are seeing, that it's not just an end-of-year sheet. It's something that people can see and respond to. It sounds like you're working the same.
No, absolutely. And by adding in some interaction, we can start to see by the nature of their response back that they are engaged. So are they asking the right questions? Are they inputting in if we're asking for a comment? So by the quality of those comments and those questions, we start to feel that actually these people are engaged, they are enthusiastic about what we're talking about here. But it's really important in terms of those analytics to set benchmarks. What do we want the audience to do when after they've watched this program, or they've had this meeting, or what is it that we want them to do? What is their behavioral change? That's what we need to measure. Did they make a difference? Did they sell more cars? Did they talk to customers in a certain way? So it's putting those measurements in post whatever we're doing and pre to see really, is this effective?
Okay. And if a business wanted to work in this way, and we're thinking, okay, what can we do for the rest of the year? If they don't have these metrics yet to start with, is this something that your team has experience of sort of giving them the benchmarks to work with?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got all those metrics in place. We use various different tools to help us to see whether it's working. Right from the simplest thing of how many people logged on and watched this program to what effect did it have in the future. So we can link the metrics to sales figures, morale, staff retention, customer engagement. The biggest question we ask any client is why. Why do you want to do this? Why do you need to do this? And what is the outcome you're trying to achieve here? And what do you want the people to do differently after we have executed this piece of communication? Because if they don't do anything differently, what is the point? And that's what we measure.
So some of it is to do with just getting those internal metrics of how people are feeling and how people are doing generally down. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, some of it is that. Yeah, we need to know that. That's very useful. But I'm more interested to, after that, did that salesperson who watched that program or was involved in that piece of comms, what did their sales look like post that piece of communication? Did it improve? Did it go backwards? Did it stay the same? What actually happened at that point? And that if we can put metrics into to monitor and measure that, then you get a true ROI on the piece of comms.
Mm-hmm. No, I get you. And do you find that there are sort of challenges to adopting this as a process?
Absolutely. Yeah, huge challenges, because some of those metrics that we need may sit in another department. They may sit in HR, they may sit in training, they may sit in another part of the organization. So sometimes getting that information can be quite difficult. And we've had other clients who may just say, I just don't want to go that far with the metrics, which I always find a bit strange. Clients can spend enormous amounts of money on a comms campaign, and yet they're not that interested to know whether it's been successful. They just have this feeling that it was successful. Yet you wouldn't spend £500,000 on a piece of machinery for your factory and not know whether it's actually going to make any money. So I do get a little bit frustrated at times, but I also understand a CEO may say to me, look, I know instinctively what we've just done is really effective. And that's fine. If that's how they want to measure it, brilliant. They've got much more of an insight than we have.
Okay. I mean, to make it more effective, do you need certain parties better to be involved from internal to work with yourselves? Is it better to have a sort of mixed group rather than just a single point of contact?
Absolutely, yes, because we would need to know more information. I think this is where probably the stumbling block starts to sit, in terms of we need to involve other departments. We need to see what measures are already in place to measure different, whatever we want to measure. So it can be a lot of work. We can do a lot of that work behind the scenes, but it does involve more people, and I think that's sometimes the stumbling block.
Okay. And just to then sort of broaden that out, I mean, what's a typical engagement with yourselves? Are they longer term pieces or?
Yeah, very much so. And as we've grown in the comms sector, in the pure comms, over the last 10 years, we've seen now that we're more on a retained basis, where we're running with a client for 2, 3, 4, 5, in some cases almost 10 years. So we really understand their business. We may have people implanted into their business that are in their offices, that is part of their team. And that is becoming actually more common as well. So we really understand it. Our designers have gone through their brand immersion, so we understand their brand, and in some cases we become the brand police as well. We understand the culture, and that really is quite powerful because it's not just a one-off project, and we don't fully understand that business. When we fully understand the business, then we can really add value, and we can really work with them, and we can see things. So we've got that advantage of being on the inside, but also on the outside. So we can see things from the outside and then take it into the inside and say, look, what about this? We think we can improve your productivity, or we can improve the way you communicate, or your staff retention by doing this. So we're much more of a partner rather than just a supplier.
Sort of, it's almost the health of the business in a sense, and sort of moving and lifting that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, now we're coming more towards the end of the year, and possibly some of the more event style or the award ceremonies that come up at the end of the year. Do they tend to be some of the more sort of fun activities that you also get involved with? You mentioned conferences, are trade shows and things part of your work too?
Yes, yeah, we've got a whole division that works with our clients on trade shows across many different markets, a lot in manufacturing, um, and again, because the way we're structured, because our comms team will be there with the idea and the creatives and the designers, that can then give our guys in the exhibition side more of an insight rather than just rocking up and saying, okay, you want an exhibition stand, this is it. We can give a little bit more intelligence behind that from the team to say this is how we should be producing the exhibition stand. These are the key messages that should go on there. But yeah, absolutely, exhibition is a big part of our business, and so is the conferences and the recognition pieces that we do as well.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, just to then explain that a little bit more. I mean, what's if you hadn't had a relationship with a company before, what's the sort of lead time that you need to get into one of these, either sort of a ceremonies or trade shows?
You mean for our clients on behalf
Yeah,
of?
for the clients. I mean, what would you prefer if someone needed to put on an event in say November? When would you like to have been involved with them?
Okay, so in the whole multi-channel offering, absolutely face to face in the same room is the most powerful form of communication. So everything else is absolutely brilliant and great, but the number one top of the list will be face to face in the same room. So that handshake and that looking people in the eye without technology will win it every time. So when we look at a client and they say we do need to bring our people together for a recognition piece, and obviously recognition works really well when everybody's in the same room. Uh, but we would still have the same approach in terms of what are your objectives, what are your outcomes, what do you want to achieve from this. Now, with a recognition piece, it may be we just want our people to really have fun, but we may dig behind that and say, well, actually, aren't we now inspiring those people who aren't going to this event or aren't going to pick up an award? What is the inspiration piece to make your people really want to be there next year, and so their performance levels rise? And how can we measure that? So what sits behind some of these, big glitz events? There is other stuff going on there that we can use.
That's it. That's an interesting point to make. That it's not just paying out for a big room and a big ceremony. There's real reasons to do it and a real value to take on from there.
Absolutely, there's got to be a value, or why are you doing it?
And then to just wrap us up there and go a little bit further, we're in changing times, and people like to help shape the future of both their teams and the world. I mean, are you feeling that that it's an exciting time for where you are, and you're helping sort of shape a future, either for your own business or for others?
Yeah, no, it is an exciting time. I think, particularly with so many different technologies now, that they're just giving us a huge toolbox to use, which is fantastic. I think that definitely we're shaping our own business, and we're growing and going into new markets, new clients. But what I really am proud of is where we make a difference to our clients as well. We have a tagline on our purpose, and our mission is to make our clients more successful, and that's it. That's the underlying objective that we want to do. I want to see our clients really out there, selling more, operating better, being more efficient, having great people. And I'm really proud when I see that we achieve that for our clients.
No, I hope we see more recognition and more results for you as we come to these ceremonies and things at the end of the year.
I hope so.
Thanks for joining us today, Dale. Was there a sort of good way for people to get in contact you, or the sort of what sort of businesses or people are you looking to work with in the future?
Okay, well, predominantly our client base tends to be corporates. We do some work with public sector, but by and large, it's the corporate market that we serve, and that's where we're really geared up for. So to get in touch, obviously the traditional ways, the website, but also our social media platforms as well, and get in touch. We have a whole piece of education that we run called the DRPG Talks, and our blogs and thought leadership pieces and white papers that we produce. So just go on the website and see what's available, and just come and talk to us. You may not want to use us, but come and talk to us in terms of our expertise and our knowledge, and we're more than happy to talk to you.
Well, thanks for that. Definitely sounds some positive steps that you've been taking, and we look forward to seeing your clients' good works out in the public, and your onward success.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your time. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us again today on the Cliff Notes podcast. If you want to get in contact with myself or a guest, visit us at the website cliffnotespodcast.com or on Twitter @cliffnotespod. Thank you.